Hey, Beachwarming. Nice to see you. Um, Thought I'd just do a little quick live. Tell you, there's so much information on the internet. I don't know why. I tell you, I decided to do this on YouTube because it's just simpler. Tell you, there's just so much disinformation on the internet. I'll give you an example. Um, it says that there's a certain power. I know they bought the medical practice my wife is employed at. If you do a search on Google, it says they're not. I mean, there's just so much disinformation out here about everything. It's getting to be that Google's about as bad as CNN. It is just sickening. I don't know if you can see it. I don't know why this is so blurry. It's probably shows it better on Restream. Hey, Teresa Mouth. Hey, I'm all sunburned again. I don't know if I can show you. If you can see, my arm got all cut up this week. I think it's like right in here. Let's see here. Yeah, when I'm running the tractor, I got to hold the lever in place for the transmission because it's forward. These tree branches, especially on blue spruces, will push the gear lever backwards, and that could grind the gear. Hopefully, we get some rain. They're calling for rain Sunday, but I'm kind of doubtful of how much we can get. The computer programs are all over the place. Okay, one thing I'll tell you, I'd like to know how everybody. Hey, Joe Carroll Dodds. Hey, Sharon. I wonder how everybody's doing. There's just so much. You listen to one channel on TV about the economy versus another. I don't know what to believe anymore. I had a friend of mine that an avid hunter, and he actually stopped here today. His name is Steve. I'm not going to say his last name. He wondered if he could go fur trapping here. And I said, as long as you put it up against the park property, he says he thinks it'd be easier for him to get a fox, a coyote, or even a groundhog. I didn't even think there was really much money in fur trapping. You figure that's kind of a dying industry. I'm not sure if anybody else is going live tonight. I'll tell you, I've had it with YouTube though. It's like if I'm on somebody's show, my pitch, everything comes in clearer. On YouTube, it doesn't. I don't know what it is. Well, actually, I mentioned like last week, we were losing TV channels on Verizon. If I put a TV show on downstairs, then one upstairs they get changed before having lunch, we lost the channel. Well, the Verizon guy came out here Monday, and he said the problem was the main box, and he was saying that we actually have one of the good routers. You really can't see that. I want to move it. I was asking him how much one of these routers are, and he says the white Verizon router, this thing's about $399. It doesn't surprise me at all. I was watching a show this week and doing some research. They're saying they think in about a month or two, AI is going to become a sentient being, which I don't think is a very good idea. And I don't have any proof, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was OpenAI, which Sam Altman is the head of. If that happens, it was on Fox News a few weeks ago, even though I don't believe everything they say, where somehow the AI got out and attacked other AI companies. Something has to be done about this because everybody knows, okay, it could take out the power grid, especially in the summertime like this. You know, where I am next to the state park, there's been problems over the years where a tree, I can't do anything with this park at all because where we are here on Grange Avenue, there's a section down the road where it's all park, and trees have come down, caused car accidents. And I may have mentioned it before that they hadn't mowed the park property here in several years. I reached out to my state senator, Tracy Pennycook, and on my behalf, she contacted the park director. Actually, 20 years ago, the park director sat in his office on Mayhill Road. Um, and actually, it was next to the farm, close to the farm my grandparents had. It was taken by eminent domain in the 1960s. Well, now the park director, it's because of who's governor, is out in Harrisburg and hate 420 Wild Dragon. And you figure with all these wildfires, and well, actually, I think everybody knows these wildfires are not wild. When somebody gets arrested for setting a wildfire, okay, it's not a wildfire. It's being done by a human being. Plus, the game warden was asking me this past year, about people coming hunting, going hunting out there. I said, who's going to go hunting in the park, even with a crossbow? It's all hay up to your chin. Actually, if you leave ground and go around here for a few years, the last time I was walking through that park before it was mowed, there's pecker bushes that have thorns on them. Rosa multiflora, they're called. The park, you walk through there, and before you know it, your feet are getting tangled and the pecker bushes. There's cherry trees coming up wild. There's white pine trees coming up wild. Um, Walnuts, everything you can think of. Um, and I was actually impressed. Tracy Penny called me up, and I was outside working, and she left a message on her cell phone, and it was a private number. I'm not going to give that out. She's a 61-year-old state senator. I figured if I contacted my state legislator guy, he's for all this woke nonsense. He would just like, give me lip service and not really do anything. Not that anybody in my area is watching, but I'm going to be voting for Tracy Pennycook again for state senator of our area because she's in part of Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. I saw tonight there was a 7.7 earthquake in Indonesia. I'm not sure how much damage was done. Actually, with my son's career, he was there. It's hard to believe a country like Indonesia, you got some real wealthy people over there, and they like heavy metal rock groups from the United States, like the one my son manages. Let's see, check Carl's gym today. Where temperature was real feel 111. Actually, I'm not sure what state you're in, but that's pretty bad. Actually, it got to 89 in Philadelphia, according to Channel 6 News. It was 90 for a few days in a row. It's a little better tonight. They say it's going to get down to 64 here. And you know what? If it gets down to 64 here, it's not going to be till like 3 or 4 a.m. Mississippi. Oh, okay. I haven't been to Mississippi. I know that is a very humid climate down there. You figure you got Mississippi, Alabama. That's all just so blame humid. Hey, Janet, nice to see you. Well, look at it like this. It's nice this time of the year. You can go outside and not have to have a coat on. It's getting a drink of water. I use that plastic straw because I have a sensitive front tooth. Fall will be here before you know it. And I said in the last video, I used to like watching the Jerry Lewis telethon back when I was a kid. It's a shame they don't have that anymore. Well, you figure Jerry Lewis passed away so many years ago. They say that we're not going to get any hurricanes because of the El Nino. I don't know, or La Nina, whichever it is. I don't know what's going on. It wouldn't surprise me if one of these days we're just going to see a massive storm hit the West Coast and make it all the way over here. When we get one of these atmospheric rivers, you never know what's going to happen. Look how I think it was earlier this year, part of Arizona had severe flooding. And you figure none of us, nobody can forecast the weather accurately. Gosh, 117, Joe Carroll Dodds. That is awful. I remember when I was a kid, my dad went to Kentucky to visit the last Boswells left down there. There was one left, his father's sister, Aunt Sue, she was called. My father said when I was outside helping him outside working as a kid, he said, "You think it's bad around here? You want to go to Kentucky?" Because actually the farm was in Carrollton, Kentucky. I don't know. There's still some Boswells left there. I'm not sure what happened to them. Because I did a video. The reason I did that video about family, the family tree, was hoping to reach out to people. I know one guy from Florida sent me an email, and I sent him all kinds of PDF files. Then it's like this. Okay, all this fake news. Are we running out of ammo? You know what I think? Even if our military is getting low on ammo, I don't think it matters. If we have higher technology energy weapons, why do we need the ammo? We could just blast stuff with energy weapons. Just doing this on YouTube, I can't really put people's comments on the screen. I hope everybody's doing okay. My wife went to a Giant today. Well, came up because we have a lot of grocery stores here. She went to Giant today and had digital coupon. I couldn't believe she got a half pound of the Lebanon bologna. I can't believe the regular price for that Lebanon bologna. I think it was the seltzers. I'll tell you, west of us in Lancaster County, there's so many companies that make lunch meat. I can't believe the regular price for that Lebanon bologna was $12.99 a pound. She got that Lebanon bologna because she was able to get 3/4 of a pound of the Virginia baked ham, which was really tasty, for I think it was free or half price. I forget what it was. Hey, I've never been to Northwest Georgia. Actually, being in the Northwest, Teresa, if you're near the mountains, if you get up in higher elevations, it's probably not quite as bad. You figured, well, I am here, we're at a low elevation, about 242 feet. If we were like 1,000 feet high, it would be way less humid. Because I know years ago when I used to go hiking on the Appalachian Trail, when I wanted to bake of a knob or the Pinnacle, or there's a place there off the trail, privately owned, called Hawk Mountain. You get on one of those mountains in the day, it's noticeably much more comfortable. And actually, up on Hawk Mountain is north of Port Clinton. Actually, Hawk Mountain is very close to Centralia, PA, where you had that city that got bought out by FEMA because of the coal fire. And actually, it's called Hawk Mountain. There's beautiful videos of people they've put on YouTube of Hawk Mountain, Bake Oven Knob, the Pinnacle, Bears Rock. Back over 100 years ago, people would go to Hawk Mountain and just shoot the hawks for something to do, that is not humane at all. And since I'm talking about hawks, today when I was mowing, okay, these birds are used to me. I can't tell if it was a male or a female. One of the red-tailed hawks saw me mow and was flying around. They're looking for mice or baby or rabbits to catch. The hawk landed on top of like a blue spruce. Actually, I get cut up because we do sell some 10 to 12, 15-foot tall trees. We don't have many on the property, but areas where they're thinned out, these trees, they look better when they're thinned out. You can't have two 12-foot tall trees next to each other that ruin each other. But actually, the hawk was sitting on top of a blue spruce about 12 foot tall. And I yelled up, I said, "How you doing, Mr. Hawk?" And then the thing flew away. The Alabama line. Okay. I'm not familiar. I have family members, like my son's been all over the world in his career. Years ago, well, I'm not going to do it now. Years ago, friends of mine talked about hiking the whole Appalachian Trail, but who has time to take off for several months to do that? That's something for a young person to do, really. Earlier tonight, I was surprised nobody went live. It seems like there aren't a lot of people going live on Friday nights at all. I'll tell you the one thing, though. I do have my concerns about the anniversary of 9/11, and then that guy that won the Democrat nomination, that El Sayed, whatever his name is. I read on Google that he was involved with euthanizing a heck of a lot of pets. And I was reading the Quran, okay, last night to refresh my memory, a little of that. How they frown upon having pets in the house, dogs. Now, if a dog, they look at dog, they don't look at dogs like we do. We love our dogs like their children. From what I read in the Quran, my humble opinion, they put dogs in the same level as farm animals. A good night, B. Okay, with the air on, the air is so dry, I need water constantly when I'm doing a live stream. Well, then I saw tonight where it was mentioned by Benjamin Netanyahu on Truth Social that Great Britain is a Muslim country that has nuclear weapons. Now, from what I read, only 6% of their population is Muslim. But look what's going on over there. These people are trying to get in positions of high power. You know, the easiest way for them to take over is to get in political positions. And then when I was talking to Tracy Pennicook, she wants something done about, all this fraud that's going on. Look at it like this. I think Elon Musk made a post. Somebody quoted it. A country that values foreigners more than their own citizens is treasonous. That's how I look at it. And if anybody's ever read some of the writings of the founding forefathers, actually the whole reason for the Second Amendment was that the people not to use guns for hunting, fishing, was so if this country had a tyrannous leader, they could rise up and take over the government. I think there was a radio station called WFIL. They used to have Scott Adams on. They've basically gone off the air a few years ago. Actually, back around 2010 or 12, they had a lot of good announcers on there. One of the guys was from the South and passed away from COVID. Now, Teresa, what's history like? You probably mean in your area. I'll tell you, it's like there's not as much good stuff to listen to anymore on AM talk radio since Rush Limbaugh passed away. Mark Levin used to be on 12:10 a.m. in the evenings. I used to like 12:10 a.m. But a lot of the people they have on there, it's all because that station got bought out by that group George Soros owns now. Okay, so Joe Carroll Dodds is in Mississippi, and Therese is in Alabama. I hope you guys have AC down there is all I could say. But talk radio, I'll tell you, I mentioned before, I've been listening more and more to Christian radio programs. I think it's WVCY America. It's 90, you guys can't get it down there. It's 96 FM. It's out of Wilmington and Philadelphia, they say. Tomorrow morning at 11 or 11:30 a.m., because their schedule changes, I'm going to listen to Ranger Bell. I don't know how many people ever heard of old time radio. The Moody Bible Institute, which was, I think it was in Michigan, that guy had all kinds of Christian radio shows produced in the 50s and 60s. A lot of this stuff is just stories, and the whole story is based on Christian values. And back when this stuff was created, the Moody Bible Institute, okay, their target audience was little kids. Oh, but if you talk to someone that's woke, oh, they're trying to indoctrinate little kids into Christianity. It's every Christian's job to try to, there's people in the world. I know people growing up. They're in elementary school. Kids never saw the inside of a church in their life. Well, if the parents never took the kid to church and they listen to radio, there's always a chance that these kids can learn about Christianity by, a radio program. Okay, Jana, Western Kentucky, Tennessee, you're getting up there towards the mountains. Okay, thank you. They're in Chicago now. But because there's a lot of stuff that they did in Michigan. Myron Kennedy was one of the guys that does it, Ranger Bell. My wife kind of laughs when I listen to this because it's really a kids show. Yeah, but it's really it would have made a great TV show. The stuff is really entertaining, and like I've said before, you can learn more. Some of the stuff there about like prepping, um, you can get some good insight on. You figure Ranger Bill was a forest ranger, um, and Colorado. I mean, it's all fiction, and he was a forest ranger in Colorado, and they had to deal with fires, wildlife. Um, you figure out that some of the stories are absurd. Where last week it was an elephant that got loose in Canada like years ago, and then it made its way down to Colorado, and it started damaging crops, destroying buildings. Buildings. You figure none of us are too old to listen to shows like that. Got 30 minutes to get to Tennessee. I'll tell you, the nearest state here to get to, because I'm in Montgomery County, PA, would be Delaware or New Jersey. And it would take over an hour with the traffic being the way it is. Okay, okay. Okay, thanks, Janet. Yeah. So you're down a low elevation being near the Mississippi River. All I know is my son's been down there already, and he says if the AC in the tour bus broke, they would be ruined. Then you look at it like this. I saw months ago over in Europe, in Great Britain, there were towns where people got together and raised some money to put window air conditioners in the schools. And you know what the head of the school did? Well, it was the mayor of the town, and some of these mayors were Muslims. And who knows how they got into power? They made them turn the air conditioner off and remove it. I mean, that is. I'll give you an example. Okay, I'm sure. I don't think any of us went to a school that had air conditioning. I didn't in elementary school. I was in Catholic school for 3 years. We didn't have it in high school. The high school I went to is called Methacton. It's a half mile up the road. Actually, it's on top of a ridge where you can see about 25, I'd say about 25 miles probably. Um, they were going to tear down Methacton and put a new school in, but then they did a cost study. And I haven't been in that school since I got out of high school in the 70s. Well, they decided it would be better off just to recut the school and put HVAC systems in there. I remember in May and June, it would be hot as hell in that school. Yeah, I've heard of Waynesboro, Janet, but I've never, like I said, I've never been in that area. I just hope that, I'll tell you, from the stuff I'm reading, okay, I think what happened in the one state, that Asian woman was running for the Democrat nomination for Senate, and then they found five sticks, or what are they called, fire sticks, where they didn't tally up all the votes. I think people are starting to wise up to a certain degree in this country. Well, we need honest, safe elections, and I think everybody knows what's going on in Philadelphia. There isn't much there, Janet. Yeah, I'd rather live up in the mountains. It's like people don't realize Pennsylvania, you get north of the Lehigh Tunnel, and let's say you get west of Millersville. It's just all Pennsylvania is a beautiful state. And most of Pennsylvania has a low population density because it's mountains. Just like up, and you figure, why do people live in certain areas? Like, I'll give you an example. In Pennsylvania, where people first settled is in my region. Um, they settled here in the valleys because the Mennonites came over here and they were able to pull a plow and grow crops. I mean, it's hard to believe in Pennsylvania they cut down trees that were huge and were able to survive and grow crops. You figure most of Pennsylvania is rocks. You can't. What can you do with rocks? You go up in the Poconos, and it's just all boulders. People don't realize why people live. There's a reason for this. And just like, down closer, a lot of people settled near bodies of water, rivers, because there was deep topsoil there to grow crops. I've never been to Erie, Pennsylvania, Janet. I used to buy trees from Berkey's Nursery like 30, 40 years ago, Canyon Firs, and they have hilly soil. I know when you get closer to Lake Erie, the soil is real sandy. For the all the soils around the Great Lakes, it's like beach sand because they were all formed from the glaciers, rock weathering. I think I said earlier, I checked to see. I didn't even know if this was going to show up on YouTube because Beach Farming almost left. Because I went to my YouTube channel, it just didn't show the live. That's one reason why I've had it with YouTube. I've already put stuff on here to do because it's simpler than using Restream, and it didn't show up. So then I had to redo it, and then after I did that, there were two things that showed up for videos. I just hope we get some rain. It's like I said, we only have a few more weeks before it's going to be fall. You figure Labor Day it's not officially the end of the summer, but people consider it the end of the summer, even though we got to wait till the 20th or 21st. And you figure, okay, people were predicting it. That the solar eclipse they had over Spain, and they said that was the first solar eclipse over Iceland in 600 years. It doesn't surprise me they had that 7.7 earthquake in Indonesia. I just hope the damage isn't really as bad as it was in Colombia. It's going to take time for that to come out. I mean, over in Indonesia, from what my son said, you got people living basically in buildings that are like not in the best shape. Then you got wealthy people living in these huge houses, huge estates. Well, Joe Carroll Dodds, have you guys had much rain down there? Because it was a week ago this past Sunday, we had 1 3/4 inches. Then on Wednesday, we had 1.5 inches. Or was it, no, maybe it was 2 weeks ago. Then we had 2 days where we had like 8/100ths of an inch. And you know what? The ground is still dry from this hot weather. I'll tell you, I'll tell you, I know some people don't like his show, but I was watching a show last night, and one of the guests was saying about, okay, and I've heard of this for years, how, okay, and if you do a search on Google, they deny it, where the Earth isn't just getting hot, the other planets are warming up. And what's causing this? Our sun. And then they were talking about, the days of Exodus and stuff with, Emmanuel Velikovsky. And you figure there's ancient texts that don't show the planet Venus, until sometime later. It could be possible that our solar system has a dark star, or there could be there could be a planet with moons circling it that comes into comes close to the sun every so many thousand years, like Planet X, Nibiru. None of us know for sure. Yeah, with the rain, Joe Carroll Dodds, actually, I like the Allentown Weather Channel. The center of Berks County, which is where Reading, PA is at, now has been drier than us. And actually, Montgomery County was taking the cake, the northern half. The southern half, you put on Channel 6, they had 6 inches or 6.5 inches of rain in July. And we barely had 2. And Allentown, like the weather we have is more like Allentown because Allentown's just a little further away than Philadelphia because it's like 25 miles from Philly where I'm at and about 33 to 35 to Allentown. And Allentown, the Allentown channel, WFMZ, they have a weather channel. They said that we're over 10 inches below normal from last October. And actually, this drought started in 2022. And what concerns me is, okay, there's historical evidence on the earth that what if we have a cycle where we don't get any rain for several months? And I saw on ABC News, it's amazing. I would love to see those redwood trees being 300-foot tall, how the roots of those things, they're not very deep. They go into rivers. I know my son's been out there and seen some of those, somewhat close up. Well, I just hope it pours on Sunday. Even if we got 3 inches of rain in 2 days, it's just going to dry out here. This ground has just gotten so dry. Because people have talked to, my neighbor has an excavating business. It's even hard for a track hoe to get down deep when the ground's this dry because the sun bakes the soil. Okay, I've been on half an hour. I think I'm going to sign off. I appreciate everybody for watching. There's a lot of people I've said before that used to do YouTube lives, and I don't know. I mean, I understand people get sick of this. I really enjoyed Prepping 101. I'm glad that he has found himself in the world, and you can't expect somebody. I was amazed. For several years, he was on almost every night, and then it's like this: a person can't let having a YouTube channel just run their whole world because YouTube is somewhat addictive. Okay, well, I'm going to end it now. Thanks everyone for having a good night. Hope to see you soon. I'm going to try to do one show a week. Any day now, I'm going to have to start dealing with these blame deer doing damage. Okay, good night, and thanks for watching.